What if I told you some of the greatest guitar solos of the 1970s were never played on classic rock radio? Buried on deep cuts and albums most people never heard, these solos could have defined the decade, but didn't. These are 10 obscure 70s guitar solos that deserve to be huge. Number 10, Freelance Fiend, Leaf Hound. Leaf Hound's Freelance Fiend doesn't so much begin as erupt. A wall of fuzzed-out riffs, pummeling drums, and gritty vocals comes crashing down before most people even realize the band exists. At the center of the chaos is Mick Halls, a guitarist whose solo doesn't just slice through the mix, it explodes out of it. Halls tears into the break with wild abandon, channeling raw blues energy through a fuzz pedal turned up to 11. His solo is unhinged and primal, packed with sharp bends, squealing feedback, and unfiltered London swagger. Each phrase feels like it might fly apart at any second, but Halls somehow reins it all in, never losing control, always on the edge. What's wild is how many people never got the chance to hear it. Freelance Fiend was buried on an album that quickly disappeared after release. Leaf Hound broke up almost instantly, leaving behind a song that would become a secret anthem for every heavy psych or stoner rock guitarist who stumbled upon it decades later. In another timeline, this solo would have set the tone for a whole generation of rock. Instead, it's a lost moment of brilliance, waiting to be rediscovered. Number 9, Sufficiently Breathless, Captain Beyond. Captain Beyond always did things their own way, and with Sufficiently Breathless, they turned hard rock upside down. The track opens on a gentle, Latin-tinged groove, a world away from the pounding riffs of their debut. But that's just the setup. Enter Larry Rhino Reinhardt, whose solo doesn't explode into the mix, but drifts in, floating above the rhythm with a sense of effortless cool. Reinhardt plays with restraint, using space, phrasing, and melody to draw you in. Instead of a technical showcase, he delivers a jazzy, almost psychedelic solo that bends expectations. Dreamy and completely unhurried. It's the kind of solo that doesn't shout, it mesmerizes. But unless you were a die-hard fan, you probably missed it. Captain Beyond's albums became cult treasures, traded among musicians like sacred texts, but Sufficiently Breathless was always an outlier, an understated masterpiece hidden in the haze of the 70s. It's the moment where Captain Beyond's cosmic ambitions and raw talent met in the middle, creating a solo that feels as fresh and mysterious now as it did then. Number 8, Faith Healer, the sensational Alex Harvey Band. The first notes of Faith Healer creep in, slow and hypnotic. There's a strange energy in the air, something unsettling, almost supernatural. Zal Clemenson stands at the edge of the stage, guitar strapped tight, eyes locked on the horizon. The solo that follows isn't about speed or flash. Instead, Clemenson builds tension, using a simple repeating riff that grows with every bar, swirling in reverb and climbing in intensity. He bends notes until they cry out, sliding and stretching each phrase like a conjure. For a moment, time seems to stop. The crowd is lost in the spell, drawn deeper and deeper until the solo finally bursts open, all the pent-up energy breaking free. But here's the catch. Outside of Europe, almost nobody heard it. Faith Healer became a cult classic for a handful of dedicated fans, while the sensational Alex Harvey Band remained a theatrical oddity. Clemenson's hypnotic, haunted solo lingers on, a ghostly masterpiece begging for a second life. Number 7, Parchman Farm, Cactus. Parchman Farm isn't just a cover, it's a declaration of intent. Cactus took the old blues standard and supercharged it, running it through a Marshall stack and letting Jim McCarty's guitar set it on fire. McCarty's solo is a force of nature. Slide guitar, screaming bends, and a tone so fierce you'd swear it was tearing the speakers There's a reckless abandon in every phrase, but it never gets messy. The blues is always at the heart, even when the playing threatens to tip into pure chaos. Cactus never broke out of cult status, always a step behind their British hard rock contemporaries. But for those who wanted something heavier, dirtier, and more dangerous, Parchman Farm was the main event, and McCarty's solo the knockout punch. Number 6, Bread Fan, Budgie. The world wasn't ready for Budgie's Bread Fan. The song slams out of the gate with blistering speed, the kind of aggressive riffing that wouldn't become common for another decade. Tony Bourge, the guitarist behind the madness, pushes the envelope even further with his solo. Bourge's lead break is all muscle, blues phrasing shot through with raw proto-metal energy. He fires off harmonics, slides, and bends with reckless confidence. Careening between chaos and control. The solo doesn't just shred, it changes gears in the middle, dropping into a haunting, melodic section before building back to a full-throttle climax. Metallica would later cover Bread Fan, and a generation of thrash and metal bands would borrow its intensity, but Budgie never got the credit. The song and its monster solo stayed hidden, a cult favorite for those who wanted to hear what the future sounded like years before it arrived. Number 5, Phoenix, Wishbone, Ash. Phoenix is more than a song, it's an odyssey. Wishbone Ash's trademark twin lead guitar attack takes center stage as Andy Powell and Ted Turner weave delicate melodies that grow and mutate across 10 epic minutes. The solo doesn't come in with a bang. Instead, it rises, gentle, almost hesitant at first, then climbing higher, growing in power and confidence. As the song builds, Powell and Turner begin to trade phrases, pushing each other further until their guitars lock in a soaring, harmonized duel. The interplay becomes the main event, conversation of melody and counter-melody, blues and rock, restraint and abandon. It's a masterclass in storytelling through guitar, and by the time the climax hits, you realize you've been taken on a journey. Phoenix influenced everyone from Iron Maiden to Thin Lizzy, but outside guitar circles, it's still a hidden legend, one of the great epics lost in the radio shuffle. Number 4, Adventures in a Yorkshire Landscape, Bebop Deluxe. Fires on spires and chambers of black. On stage, Bill Nelson transforms Adventures in a Yorkshire Landscape into something transcendent. The studio cut was good, but the live version is a revelation, a slow-burning build that's all atmosphere and emotion. Nelson starts in near silence, coaxing out notes with volume swells, tremolo, and careful bends. Each phrase feels suspended in time, as if he's painting a sunrise over empty fields. The solo stretches out, never rushing, always moving towards something bigger. Then, with a subtle push, Nelson breaks through, unleashing a lyrical, expressive climax that soars above the band. It's a performance that pulls you in deeper with every note, leaving the crowd breathless when it's over. But outside of die-hard fans and fellow guitarists, most people missed it. Bebop Deluxe faded from the spotlight, leaving this solo as a quiet masterpiece for those lucky enough to find it. Number 3, Glitter Queen. Hydra never got the headlines, but with Glitter Queen, they left their mark on the southern rock underground. The song kicks off with a nasty, swampy groove, thicker than molasses and twice as heavy. Spencer Kirkpatrick's guitar solo doesn't strut, it pounces. He mixes snarling blues licks with wah-wah runs and pinch harmonics that could melt paint off the walls. Every note carries a bite, but it's the attitude, equal parts Georgia boogie and heavy metal muscle, that sets this solo apart from anything their more famous peers were doing. For a few fleeting years, Hydra shared stages with Southern rock royalty, but Glitter Queen remained their best-kept secret, missed by radio and lost in the flood of the era's bigger names. Listen close and you'll find a solo that's as mean and memorable as anything Lynyrd Skynyrd ever laid down, just hidden a little deeper in the mud. Number 2, Tuswine, Ride the Sky, Lucifer's Friend. From the first note, Ride the Sky feels like a storm breaking loose. Heavy organ chords crash in, the drums thunder, and Peter Hessline's guitar takes flight. Hessline's solo is a force of nature, riding a wave of fuzz, wah, and proto-metal energy. He twists his tone into wild, distorted shapes, unleashing lines that blur the boundaries between metal and prog. The phrasing is bold, the attack relentless. Every bar pushes the song forward, threatening to tear it apart, but somehow holding everything together. Lucifer's Friend never got the recognition they deserved. They helped invent heavy prog and doom, but stayed in the shadows while others took the spotlight. Ride the Sky is a hidden monster. Its solo a blueprint for decades of guitarists who wanted to make their instruments sound like a tornado. Number 1, Rock Bottom, UFO. There are solos that impress, and there are solos that change the way you think about guitar. Michael Schenker's turn on Rock Bottom does both. The studio version is already sharp, with fierce lines and blazing runs. But it's live where this solo becomes legendary. Schenker stretching it out for minutes on end, never repeating himself, always searching for new territory. His phrasing is masterful, quick bursts, wide bends, moments of pure speed followed by aching melodic licks. The whole thing builds in waves, tension rising and falling, until the audience is hanging on every note. Guitarists like Eddie Van Halen and Slash point to this solo as a masterclass, but for the rest of the world, UFO remained cult heroes. Rock Bottom was never a hit, but its solo is a triumph, a mountain peak that too few ever tried to climb. Outro missed by the mainstream but never forgotten by those who found them. These are the solos that should have changed the decade. Drop your own hidden gems in the comments. Let's give these legends the audience they always deserved.